Welcome to another King's Christian Collegiate Photoshop tutorial for ComTech. Today we are going to go through some very basic Photoshop elements. We'll look at how to open an image to get it ready to edit. We'll look at the tools, we'll look at what layers are and how they work and things of that nature. Very basic introductory stuff. So the first thing we're going to do is open an image. So we'll launch Photoshop. We'll go up to File. We'll go to Open. And we will open the creepy dolly. That's the image we'll use. What we'll do is we'll fill this frame a little bit so this is not quite so distracting. So to fill this out a little bit, what you want to do is put your cursor on this corner. You'll see the double arrow. Left click and hold, and then drag it open, and that'll just fill in and give you some of this desktop space as well. So this image is on our first, what we call a background layer. And your layers are all going to be found in this bottom right-hand corner. You'll see here it says layers. These are our window panels. So we're looking at our layer panel right now. This is blue, meaning it's the active layer, meaning the one that you can edit on. However, this is locked. We can't do much with it. We can't move it around. If we try to erase it, it'll look like we're painting over top of it because it's locked. So we have to unlock it first of all before we can manipulate it. So to unlock it, you can do a couple of things. The easiest way to do it that I find, double click on the lock. So put your finger on the lock and double click left, 1, 2, and we'll name it Dolly. And click OK. So now we've named our layer, and now the lock is gone. So if we want to erase, we can erase, and here's our erase button, and it'll take it away and leave a transparent background. So that's just how to open an image and make it accessible for editing. Now let's look at our tool panel. So these are our tools all down on the far left-hand side. So if you don't have that, you need to go up to Windows, click on Window, click it once so it's open, look for Tools, and it's way down here at the bottom, and the check mark will tell you that that tool window is active. If we click on this now and that check mark goes away, the tool panel goes away. Click on Window again, go all the way down, click on Tools, and it pops up once again. Let's go through our tools. First, we have the Move tool. This is very simple. It's just a grab tool. So you bring your cursor over and you can put it anywhere on your image, hold and left click, and you can move your image around. Now it's not where we wanted it to be in the original position, so we can drag it back into place. It takes a little bit of precision. It's off a little bit, but if you hit Command and Z, it puts it back. So if we are over here and we don't want to take the time to line it all up with our frame edges, hold Command, press the Z key, and your image will automatically go back to its last position. Next, we have our rectangular marquee tool. And what this does, if you drag it over, you'll see a little plus sign. Press and hold your left key and drag it, and it will highlight a space. Now you can cut and paste, you can delete. So if we hit delete, for example, it'll take that space out. Command Z to undo what you just did. If we wanted to copy and paste that again, we could go Command C for copy and Command V for paste. And now you see it opened another layer over here. And now we've got two of these, we can drag it around. We don't want that, so we're going to delete this layer by grabbing it and dragging it down to our trash bin down here. Trash bin is right here. So that's the marquee tool. If you draw your marquee tool and you decide, you know what, I don't want that after all, and you will go to delete, you're going to delete a portion of your image. So you hold Command and press D, and it goes away. Some of these icons you'll notice have these little black triangles. If you hold Control and click on that little icon, it'll open up the little tool panel for you. And you'll see there's also an elliptical marquee, a single row marquee, and a single column marquee, and they do the same thing, only different shapes. So an elliptical is a round-edged shape, and then delete, Command Z, Command D to get rid of it if you don't want it. And that's good for cutting some shapes out and things like that. Also, you'll notice if you do this and you want to erase something, it'll only erase what's inside that space. Next we have our lasso tool. This does a few different things. So a lasso tool is what you use if you're taking the time to very carefully cut something out. You might use the lasso tool. And you can freestyle whatever you want. Bring it back to its starting point, and it does the similar thing that the marquee tool did. Now if I hit delete, it takes all those things out. You can also use the polygonal lasso tool, and this allows you to do this, but it draws points instead of freehand. So now you can very precisely cut a few things out. Here we have our quick selection or magic wand tool. This is very handy for when you're trying to cut out specific portions. There's a lot of lines here on this particular image, so it'll be a bit trickier, but the quick selection tool just allows you to take portions of your object that you want to cut out. And so you just click on the magic wand tool and you drag your cursor around, holding down the left mouse key. It looks for those edges and grabs the edges as it thinks you need them. Now, we've grabbed our edges, so let's say we wanted to cut this doll's head out, but we want to keep this little part of the collar, this little part of the thing behind them, but it went ahead and found those edges. If you hold the Option key and then drag on that spot that you don't want to cut out, it'll fill it back in. So hold Option and drag over. And when you're taking your time to do this, you'll of course take the time to do it very carefully. Now we've cut out our doll's head, and we can delete just by clicking delete, and our doll's head is gone. We also have the magic wand tool, which is very similar, only you just have to click it, you don't have to drag, and it takes the things that it thinks you want, takes the area that it thinks you want. This is the crop tool, which is just what it sounds like. You just grab a space and drag it across, let go, and now you can make appropriate adjustments. If let's say we wanted to turn this into this, hit return or enter, and it crops your image. It takes out all of that material you didn't want. This is our eyedropper tool. This allows us to grab color. So let's say we wanted to put some text here, for example, and we wanted it to be the color of this doll's eye. You can click on that color and it will grab that color. So it shows up in our little color palette over here. So this color right here, the foreground color, is the exact color of this eye. If I wanted to do this color of red in the lips, now if you look over here, it's the color of the lips. You'll see this circle appear when you're changing a color. The top color is the color you're changing it to. The bottom color is the color it was previously. Next we have our spot healing brush. So let's say we wanted, there's a little dot right here, right in the middle of that circle that I want to get rid of. I just simply grab this healing brush and I hold it over there and I click it, left click, and it fills it in. It takes away the blemishes. You would use this for portraiture if you had somebody with acne or a scar or something like that and you wanted to get rid of it. There are other healing brush tools, patch tool, red eye tool for photograph. If you take a picture of somebody and they've got demon eyes, you can use those as well. Here we have our paintbrush tool. And what this does is it allows us, just like a spray paint can or a paintbrush, it allows us to draw on the image if we want to. There is also a pencil tool, which is very similar to that, only it's much finer. There are other tools in here, but you'd be not using them very often. Next we have the clone stamp tool. And what the clone stamp tool will do is it will grab and reproduce a spot on your image. So let's say we want to grab the eyeball on this image. So we'll go over here, we will hit Option, and you'll see the little crosshairs, and you'll left click on your mouse. Now what you've just done is grabbed everything that was inside that circle, and now you can move it and it will reproduce. There's also the pattern stamp tool. You'll be very hard pressed to find a use for this, but basically it just fills in pattern downloads that you might have. I'm not sure why you would use it, to be honest. We will not use it at all. Here you have a history brush tool. What this does is, let's say you erased this portion. If you use your history brush, it puts back what you took away. And then we have our eraser tool, and this is just what it sounds like. It erases whatever you don't want. Here we have our paint bucket tool. It just fills in space as you need it. Here we have a blur tool. What this does is it blurs the image. So let's say you wanted to make this eye blurry for some reason. You would just hold the button down and just wiggle your finger back and forth, and as you can see, it makes that eyeball blurry. This is a handy tool if you're cutting something out and putting it on top of another layer and the edge is too sharp. I very often have used this tool just to soften the edge. Maybe let's say we want to make this seat blurry as the background. Take the time and you can blur it out. We won't use this tool a whole lot, but that's what it does. This is the burn tool, the dodge tool, and the sponge tool. So the dodge tool lightens an area. So let's say we wanted to lighten up the white of her eyes. We would just hold and press and come over the eyeballs, and it lightens up that space. You can see those shadows are lightening up around her eyes. But let's say we wanted to darken the eyebrows. We would go over and we would use the burn tool, and then that would darken an area. Here we have the pen tool. This is similar to our tool up here, the polygonal lasso tool. You just simply draw your point and it allows us to select a section of something. If you're trying to do a precise cutout of a section of an image, the difference here though is it doesn't leave those little flashing lines, it just creates a solid line, but it does essentially the same thing. This is our type tool. This allows us to type text, so you just click on anywhere on your image, it'll create a new layer, so the text is on top of this. So we've got text, and we will type the word dolly. Now it's not in the right spot, so we need to move it over a little bit, and there you go. Now we've got the word dolly. If you look, we don't have anywhere here that shows us our text. So what we want to do is go to Window, and we're looking for Character. Click Character, and now it shows our text. So here's Flickr Demo, that's the name of this font. Let's say we want to change that font style. Click on the text tool, make sure it's active, double click on your text and it highlights, and now we can go over and find a different text. Let's change it to Fridays. Now it changes it to Fridays. We want to change the color. We go over to this little color panel here, and let's say we want to make it red. Now it's red. Click OK. There are a number of other things that we can do. We'll go through in another tutorial. Next we have the path selection tool. We won't be using that, so I'm not going to go through it. We have the rounded rectangular tool, or our shape tool, rectangle tool, rectangle tool. Simply creates a shape, and up here you tell it whether you want it to fill in or not. And that's done up here. our magnifying tool. It lets us zoom all the way in until we see all of our pixels. If you want to zoom out, hold down Option and left click. And you can see how large, at what scale your image is. Down here, it's at 50%. Want to go to 100. Click it until it's at 100%. And that's it. Thanks for watching.